Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show, How We Grow. This is your essential playbook to grow and scale your vacation rental business. With advice and insights from the best in the biz, I'm your host, Lynell Gordon. Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show. I'm Lynell Gordon, your host. And today I have a really unique guest. His name is Jeff Iloulian, and he is the CEO and founder of HostGPO. And that company, I'll let him tell a little bit about it, but his background is, before that, he actually founded another company with residential and multifamily real estate. He's got a Juris Doctorate. He's an attorney, graduated from Columbia University. He's a brilliant guy, and we are really lucky to be chatting with him today. He's got some really cool, interesting background when it comes to intellectual property and cybersecurity. I don't know if that's something that you'd be interested in, because I was just like, I want to hear about it because it's interesting. Welcome, and thank you for being with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. Really excited to be talking.
Tell us about HostGPO real quick. I want to hear what you're doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So HostGPO, we're a GPO, a group purchasing organization. So we're a buying group for vacation rental operators who need furniture, linens, mattresses, locks, amenities, art, supplies, anything that you need to kind of physically put into your unit. We are a place that you can get it from. So a lot of people kind of think of us as a Costco, but specifically for vacation rental companies.
I love that. Someone just asked me, what high-end sheets I use on my beds in my vacation rental. And I was kind of loath to give an answer because, I mean, I can tell them which ones I use. I use something off of Amazon that I replace every year. So I don't know that I would suggest that for everybody, but I'll bet you have an answer to that.
I do. So we partner with, for example, this company called Standard Textile, and they're the largest hospitality linen company in the US. So this is who sells linens to Ritz and Marriott and Hyatt and Hilton. And we're able to get through our group, which has had over 300,000 units sign up to join HostGPO. We're able to negotiate on behalf of the group to get the best pricing from companies like Standard Textile. And so what I would recommend to anybody who is trying to try out sheets and figure out what they wanted is get some free samples from Standard Textile, talk to them, and then learn more about like what makes a hospitality sheet different than something on Amazon. I mean, I was in my previous vacation rental company, we were operating 150 properties, and I went through a lot of Amazon sheets. I went through a lot of, Costco sheets. I went through a lot of different types of sheets and towels to try to figure out what to buy. And then I learned that there are hospitality specific sheets that have all these like cool things like quick dry or stain resistant or less fraying because they're commercially manufactured to go through 100+ washes, or all of these things that you wish you knew about and had in your vacation rental properties, which I learned the hard way, having to replace sheets all the time. And everything from but I couldn't figure out how to buy anything other than case packs, right? So like you would buy like a case pack and then you end up with all these extra flat sheets or all these extra pillowcases, and you can actually do things like buy a box of sheets or a box of pillowcases and keep inventory that way. So there are a ton of benefits for going through a hospitality linen provider like Standard Textile. And then you learn that like through a buying group like HostGPO, like the pricing is going to be better than probably what the alternative worst product that you're buying on Amazon is. So that would be like my go-to thing would be yes, absolutely, this is the right company most likely, and get some samples. I mean, we also work with companies like Brooklinen and other name brands too, but Standard Textile for most people that are operating a lot of properties is the go-to.
I wouldn't use Brooklinen for a couple of reasons. I actually have Brooklinen sheets.
Sure.
And it's my husband's favorite sheet ever.
They're great.
No. Actually, it's not his favorite. He has another one. It's actually a linen sheet, parachute.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Same.
Yeah, I just didn't love the way it held up for me. So I would go with a commercial brand.
Yeah, but some people who are, for example, if you're doing a super luxury stay and you want to put a name brand in to say, hey, by the way, this stay has Brooklinen sheets, like that's something that appeals to some people in setting up certain kinds of listings. But I would say the vast majority of people are in the same boat as us and are, I put Standard Textile in my own properties.
Yeah, I think I would go that way. If I wanted to do super high end and pretend or whatever, I do fret, but they don't hold up that well. They
Yeah.
don't. They're great sheets. I love them. And actually, depending on when you bought it, it gets better. But uh, anyway, I would definitely go with, I like your answer better than mine.
Yeah, I mean
I would just
they have
say,
like they have the full spectrum too. I mean they have standard textiles like entry level lines that are very inexpensive, and then they also have super luxury 100% cotton or sateen depending on what you're looking for sheets. So
mm-hmm.
there's a lot of great options. Just depends on what you're trying to optimize for. Are you in a hot climate and you want breathability? Are you doing just a ton of loads of laundry all the time and you need things that are going to turn over quickly or be commercial? And kind of that way. So I would say that there's a sheet for every bed, and it just depends on what you're looking for. But again, our goal is, we're good at sheets. I know more about sheets than I realistically ever should in my life. I'm like, I've been to their manufacturing plants. I mean, I've seen all over the U.S. and I've learned a lot and like walked through to really understand the differences. But the real power of Host GPO is we found the best linen provider. We made the best deal possible and we just connect you with that company so that you don't have to worry if you're getting the best pricing and you can try out everything and learn from people who we could do an hour on sheets. I mean, did you know that
I could
do you
do
know that
that.
thread count? You know, thread count is like a marketing ploy and like doesn't really mean what everybody thinks it means. There's all this deep knowledge and institutional knowledge that they can, share. It's just really fascinating.
Tell me about sheet count and why it's not important. I thought it was important to have it over 500 or minimum 350, I think. I don't remember.
Thread count apparently it is not as important as that. Well, one, the type of material. So if depending on what you're looking for, if you're trying to optimize for feel, there are other things like the finish, the weave, and where the cotton is sourced from, or what types of blends you're looking at that make a much greater impact on the overall durability and feel of the sheet than something like thread count, which really is kind of like it's like a marketing term that came out whatever, 20, 30 years ago. And that has been the go-to way that people have marketed sheets. And at the end of the day, if you're really looking for longevity or things that feel really great or high quality, there are much more important factors that go into whether a sheet is good or not. And when you talk to a linen expert or somebody at Standard, like they're going to tell you right out of the gate, well, thread count doesn't really mean what you think it means. And you might as well try these and feel these compared to what you have. And we'll tell you why and so forth. I mean, when you start really getting into the weeds on things like how these linens are woven, I'll give you a great example. So this company has, let's say you have a blended sheet. So you have like a 60-40 polyester cotton blend or something like that, right? The way that most like just generic linens are made is it's all of that yarn and like all of it is kind of spooled together. And it's just a blend of those that's the percentage blend in one yarn. Now, what a company like this will do, what Standard Textiles do is say, okay, well, what are you really optimizing for here? You want lower cost, so you're going for a blend. You want durability and longevity, which is why you're going for a blend, but you want it to still feel really good and you want it to be more stain resistant. And so what they do is they actually put the synthetic yarn, the polyester on the inside, and then they wrap it with the
With the
cotton.
cotton.
And so what that does is, obviously the cotton will release the soil much better than a synthetic yarn will. And if, you get a 60-40 normal sheet soiled, it won't come out the same way as it would release from 100% cotton. So it gives you that. It also gives you the soft feel of the cotton, but it gives you the, performance, longevity, and price of doing a blended sheet. And these are just things that like I would have never known. But this is why companies like Hyatt and Hilton and these huge hotels, they've done all of this research and done all of the penciling of what makes the most sense. And our thought was, well, let's go to the best company in the space. And it's just been one of the tremendous partners that Host GPO works with.
Can we buy Weston sheets from that company, something that's similar to the
You
Weston?
can, yeah, you can. And the best thing to do is you tell them, hey, this is what I like. This is what I'm using. What's the comp? And just have them send you and tell you what the best comp is, and then see what the pricing is. It's generally speaking, will be more affordable for a better quality item. And then what I think
Wow.
short-term rental folks specifically are really excited about is we go ahead and we negotiate free shipping to multiple locations. So what's really interesting is for those of the operators who are listening who are doing things like ordering from hospitality providers already, the old trick is, oh, well, here's the pricing, and then all of a sudden it goes to ship and the inventory is delayed, or they're going to charge you an insane amount of freight and you don't factor that in to the actual price of the towels or sheets or whatever it is. Here, we've negotiated, because of the industry, right? We've negotiated to have the shipping be free, but also to allow you to ship to multiple homes. If you're trying to restock multiple homes or multiple warehouses or whatever that is, you can place smaller orders and ship them for free rather than having to place one large order or pay for shipping or meet minimums. We really have tried to, whether you're doing replacements on smaller orders or massive orders, offer something for everybody.
Well, Jeff, I'm impressed. That's a lot. That I really am. I'm going to have to reach out to you to see about because there are high-end homes, and I'm thinking to myself, it would be really nice if we could make sure that I don't have to buy new sheets all the time.
And happy to connect you and get you set up with a bunch of free samples. And this was our goal, wasn't to kind of boil the internet over again and put 50 different linen companies and 100 furniture companies and so forth. We really said, what's the best linen company for large use? What's the best name brand, or to put in if somebody wants a name? And then we do the same thing for mattresses. Like, we have like the best mattress partner, and the best that has luxury and mid and basic, just because it allows us to, one, continue to get big discounts because we're sending volume through the GPO to these suppliers, which love working with us, and then two, just make it easier for everybody. I mean, you don't want to, it's so confusing. You have to buy like 600 items to set up a new property. So why not, at least have some curation of what you're looking for in one place and know that you're kind of getting the right stuff.
Let me ask you this. There was something fascinating that surprised not just myself. My family's in property management, and it surprised them. It literally surprised my sister. So I had my house, I had a terrible accident and it had to be redone. And my furniture was a part of that. It literally got wet. It was just like crazy coming in from the walls. And someone I trusted to redo my living room, and they did it in white. And they said the stains will come out, Lynell. You won't have to worry. You probably won't have to replace it every time. Well, I'll be real honest, I didn't believe them, but it was beautiful. And I was like, I paid for it. Let's go for it. I trusted you. And I bought, they came with covers. Like, you could take the cover off and put another one on. And so I bought a whole new set of covers for in case mid-season I needed it. And it came through perfectly.
Yeah.
How is that possible? There are materials that do that now?
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is another huge thing that I learned. I used to be a big Wayfair, Amazon furniture guy. I was a big IKEA guy. I used to go to IKEA. I mean, that's just, look, I was starting out and we were bootstrapped and we were putting up properties so quickly. And I was penny smart and pound foolish. And I very much was trying to tiptoe into the industry. And then I learned that contract grade furniture and performance fabrics are like a thing. And so whether you're working with a brand like, we work with Crate and Barrel or Restoration Hardware, or even, more basic brands like Article, or depending on your project size, there are all these different companies out there that have not just basic furniture options, but they also have performance grade fabrics. And those fabrics are actually made, again, similar to like the standard textile performance contract grade fabrics. They're made for this type of use. And contract grade furniture is just a whole another industry. There are all these standards and certifications, and understanding that can get pretty complicated. It's kind of like if you went to the market and tried to buy something that was artisanal or organic, or, it could mean something very different depending on what that is. And there's all these different certifications and licensures that each type of, furniture company can go and get. And what they'll do in terms of grading that. So there's like BIFMA is a standard. And what they'll do is they'll put the chair, let's say, through a rumble test, through a sustained 300 pounds of weight for 18 hours to see if there's any actual, denting or compromise to the actual structural integrity of the chair. And these are the kinds of things when you go into a coffee shop, national coffee shop, or you go into a hotel, or any sort of real business. they have contract grade furniture inside because it's meant to withstand the type of use that, short-term rental use goes through. And so anybody who is listening who has ever had a pull-out couch in any of their properties that didn't buy a contract grade pull-out couch, I mean, I went through this all the time. You know just how bad it is to have a kind of your local retail store or whoever who's buying from who knows where, and you put that pull-out couch in. That thing is meant for somebody who is putting it in their home, and they have guests 2-3 times a year, and they're opening it up, and your family or your friends are staying there for a few nights, and that's it. That thing is not meant for repeat guest turnover, opening and closing every day when they're not using it, and using the room, and your cleaners opening it and closing it every time and putting the sheets on and on and off. And so what'll end up happening, what's happened to me so many times is, those levers on the side that like open and close start to bend, they start to break. And then all of a sudden, that's the pound foolish part. Now you got to block off a day, hire a mover to come in, or get your team to come out and take that couch out, buy a new one, schedule the delivery for the same time, refund the guest because they didn't have a pull-out couch that worked. I mean, everything. I even had a maintenance guy who cut his hand trying to close it one time, and then all of these things that are associated with these hidden costs that are associated with buying not right. We always say it's better to buy right than buy twice. And you might as well kind of learn that lesson the easy way. So again, all of that to say, there are these performance grade fabrics, there are these contract grade certifications that go into furniture, and this is the kind of thing that we've learned over time and that we try to help guide people towards when they're trying to figure out what to do for homeowners or for their own properties.
Well, I can tell you that this actually surprised. If you can surprise my sister, you've done a great job. I was willing to be surprised, no problem, but I was really shocked because my home has a bunk room, and it's dressed up. It's a really cool room. They're built into the wall, and they have animals, and it's very cool, but it's for kids. And so it's for families. And so I knew that there would be a toddler walking around with grape juice in his hand at the beach, because it's at the beach, and on that couch. And it didn't get stained. I'm still shock and awe here for that. So I think that people, if they're interested in those types of performance fabrics, they should get in touch with you and talk to you about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And depending on what your need is, if you're again, it's not for everybody. I think that some people, are really, if you're booking your place for $80 a night and that's your ADR, like maybe you don't need performance fabrics, and maybe you're using things that are on a short timeline. If you're, again, you don't need it for everything, right? Maybe you don't need it for every single room, but you do need it for the common areas. And that goes for all contract grade furniture, right? If it's something that people are touching and moving, you probably want it to be contract grade. If it's the credenza in the entryway where people are going to leave their, keys on top of, maybe not. And so depending on the type of use, midterm rental, short-term rental, we have a ton of expertise to kind of guide people in the right direction and to the right, types of products.
I was really surprised the first time my sister and I take kids, and we go take a trip every year, and we've used pullouts. And the first time we were at a high-end hotel, and they had a pullout, I ended up having to sleep on the pullout. The kids were sleeping with Rochelle or whatever. And I thought it was going to be a horrible night. It was amazing. What in the world? I was just like, I didn't know they made pullout mattresses like this. So you can find those kinds of things for people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and they're generally not as expensive as you think, but you have to know which ones to get. And again, like if you were paying full price and retail price, from a brand like Crate and Barrel or CB2, like, yeah, it could be expensive, but all of a sudden when you start getting a discount on, your West Elm or Pottery Barn through HostGPO or Crate and Barrel, whatever it is, you're going to be competitively priced with just the generic alternative, and you're getting something that would be comfortable, that has a memory foam mattress inside it already, or that is made for commercial use and opening and closing like that. And so again, it's just kind of knowing what the right things to buy are and being able to get them at a discount that, for me, that's what this is all about. And we can talk about that later, and why I'm so passionate about this is that I think we're helping to we're helping to make the industry better. We're helping to elevate the standards in the industry by making these types of products known, but also accessible price point wise. So we do consultation calls, and our team is all in the short-term rental industry. Everybody works at HostGPO. And so we very much are a part of this world, and we want to help people make these decisions.
So guys, I just want you to know, everybody that listens to my show knows that I really rarely sit and talk about someone's business, that people come on and they're here to give, they give vacation rental advice.
Sure.
And in this case, guys, I really think Jeff just has really good vacation rental advice that I mean, he knows things that it may have been that we may never learn, because this is what he does as far as, taking care of these houses. Tell me, Jeff, what is the best advice that you would give a property management company to grow?
Yeah, I mean, I'll speak for myself, and and something that I learned the hard way. So when I was scaling, obviously started with 1 and went to 10, and I felt like the real hard points were 10 properties, and then 50, and then once I got over, once you get to like 150, you're operating at a different scale. But that kind of like growth from 10 to 50, I think one of the things that I really learned too late, and I think this goes into having a growth mentality of like knowing that you're going to want to get there, is just standardizing across the board early will save you so much in the long run. And so what I ended up doing is, not thinking through and kind of growing piecemeal, and not doing things like having inventory or having reserves or having backups, and really panic buying last minute, and running to the store and grabbing an extra, whatever it was, pot and pan or pillow or something like that. And then what you end up doing is, because you don't have standards early, you end up with, I don't know, we go back to linens, right? You end up with an off-white pillowcase, a bright white duvet cover, a cream, flat sheet, because you're pulling things together over time. And I think that, that last minute panic buying, that running to the store and grabbing that last thing, I mean, that stuff is really hidden in your bottom line. You don't think about it. And if you're really running a business, there's 2 parts to profit, right? It's the revenue, and there's so much focus on generating revenue, right? Sure, make the place look great, pricing, all these things. But the second part of that is expenses. And so keeping the expenses down and thinking about, not panic buying, making sure you're having, standards and consistency early, that was something that I hadn't planned for in my own business, and learned very much. And I see a lot of other operators out there, especially a lot of the most successful people in the space who are Host GPO members, and we talk a lot and work through their ordering, and I see how they do it. And it is like nothing I would have done early on. And even when I was at 150 properties, I wasn't like great. I was doing okay, but I see what the real, pros in the space have done. And it's, it's really impressive to have standards and have, this is what we buy. This is what we have in our properties. What the chair was when you need to go replace it. You don't have to go hunting and put like a chair that doesn't match the rest of the dining chairs, right? Those things, when a guest shows up and they see that level of consistency, that's a brand standard. And so that would be my number one piece of advice to anybody is, brand standards exist, and brands exist for a reason. And it's because you have those standards and those processes and procedures in place. So the sooner you can do that, it starts to exponentially make things harder over time. If you have 6 different locks at your 6 properties, that is so painful for your operations team to try to remember, or for you to remember when you're trying to troubleshoot with somebody who can't get inside. Like, you can't send them a video of your Schlage lock if you have a Yale, and they're, it's just a different thing. So again, standardizing early, and thinking about that early is a really, really good way to grow effectively.
Built by property managers for property managers, Streamline is a powerful software that gives managers enterprise-level capabilities to drive more revenue and improve operational efficiency. Migrating to Streamline allows property managers to gain functionality while reducing the need for multiple vendors, improving flow by logging into a single system, and reducing redundant technology costs. With Streamline, property managers achieve revenue lifts by leveraging our fully fledged communication center, reservations quoting system, revenue management tools, homeowner acquisition CRM, and powerful direct OTA connections. Streamline also has industry-leading trust accounting and report capabilities to give you clarity in an overall company performance. Learn more about Streamline Vacation Rental Software at streamlinevrs.com.
Let me ask you this. This is interesting because this is not a point that a lot of people bring up, but of course it's important. And it will save you money. It's like you say, it's the expense part of it that we're looking at here, not just the revenue. Normally we concentrate on the revenue and we, work on the expenses as best we can, but your focus is on the expenses here. And my question is that what led you into HostGPO?
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge part of it. I was looking at my bottom line, in 2018 and looking at how much we were spending on supplies and paper goods and amenities and soaps and shampoos. And then I was setting up new properties a lot, and I kept realizing, even if I was getting a trade discount or something from somewhere or a wholesale discount, like it wasn't as meaningful as a huge company like a Sonder or even like a large hotel company would get when they were buying. And that's just not a level playing field. And these types of GPOs exist in every industry. Group purchasing organizations, they exist in healthcare and pharmaceuticals and hospitals and government, corporate. Everybody has GPOs that they buy through. If somebody opens up a hospital, they're not going to go, that person isn't going to go and negotiate for every single sheet or pillow or IV stand, right? This is what GPOs do. And so there just wasn't somewhere to go in the short-term rental industry to find this stuff. And I was looking at my bottom line and being very confused and trying to figure out how I was going to make the company more profitable. And yeah, that was it. It was candidly, I didn't start HostGPO to be its own business. I started it with a couple other, a dozen or so other vacation rental companies. We all had a couple hundred properties, and we started figuring out, hey, what's the best mattress? What's the best, I don't know, towel? And then going from there to negotiate. And so then it just kind of became its own thing. And I'm super happy to be helping other vacation rental businesses and helping the industry in this way. And it's been a really fun business.
I didn't know that you grew your business from the bottom up. I didn't know that. That is because, and I know that what an impressive statement, because where those numbers are, 10 to 50, somewhere in between there. And then 50 to 100. After you get to 150, believe it or not, 200 is another mark. And it depends if you're doing luxury or what kind you're doing. And I know those numbers from the statistical analysis that the tools that we wrote at LSI Tools. So I'm really impressed.
But you feel it. I mean,
you do.
You
operationally.
You can look at the numbers. You operationally feel it. It's too many messages. It's too many. The systems you have break, and
hiring
you
staff.
Yeah, you start to need more roles, and like those roles make sense at those numbers. And again, the same thing happens with processes, right? When we got to 100, it was okay. Like we need regional. We were mostly in Southern California, and we needed to start thinking about, okay, well, where are we warehousing? How are we going to hold inventory? We started buying sheds with locks and putting them behind certain properties, and really spacing them out across the cities. And those are the types of things that those are scaling points.
Right.
But you feel it. You feel your business start to break. And I was very lucky. I had some good mentors in the space who brought me through a lot of those growing pains. Fortunately now for operators, there's even more content and there's more people helping. But there wasn't a solution like HostGPO, which is why we started it. It was just solve your own problem, and then more people just started joining. And yeah, that's kind of how we got here.
So what are your best practices for managing inventory and making sure that everything is standardized, maintains well stocked, it keeps its stock perfectly? What kind of advice do you have for people for tracking that and managing it?
Yeah, I think that it's hard to give broad sweeping advice. It just depends on your business, because depending on if you have 100 properties, but you're national, or you have 100 properties and you're in one location, right? Your inventory systems are going to be wildly and dramatically different. What I can tell you anecdotally is most people who try to get too granular with, I want to track every single plate that goes in and out and every single cup that goes in and out, it's not worth the time to track it. Rather, it's better to have good systems and checks and balances in place where all of your inventory isn't fully accessible to the people who are necessarily replacing in each unit, or that you're ordering on a cadence that allows you to have enough backstock, but not too much. And again, right, what we have with HostGPO is if you order some soaps and shampoos, and then you order, paper goods and so forth, that's all in your order history, and you can log in and kind of see, oh, what went to what property. Oh, it's been a year since I've ordered these linens. These are the ones that I get. I need to reorder them. And so we've tried to kind of centralize it as much as we can. And that's something that we're still working on and still building all the time. But as far as best practices go, 3 par for sheets, right? Making sure you have one on the bed, one in the wash, and one in storage and inventory. Purchasing and having a backstock. There's all these kind of best practices, and we have this cool stuff too, like these bed boxes and bath boxes and kitchen boxes where you just like one click a button and it puts like all those items into your cart for you. So it kind of sets you up with the right amounts out of the gate. So again, I would say hard to give broad sweeping advice. We have a
Okay.
team of experts, and like it's that's part of what you get at HostGPO is like that you can talk to people on our team about this is what our business looks like. What's the best way for us to kind of manage?
As quickly as the vacation rental industry evolves, and it does, it doesn't matter how quickly we think that it will do or how slowly we think it's going to be. It evolves every year. What kind of trends are you excited about for this next year?
Yeah, I would say a couple of the things that I'm excited about personally. I think the kind of explosion of experiential hospitality is something that I've been tracking very closely. So a ton of really unique stays that are based on the experience and the location and things that you can't get otherwise. I've been a really big fan of watching those come up and watching that industry grow a little bit. So that's been fun. I think that another one that I find interesting that's kind of related is this like build for vacation rental model of people that are doing ground up real estate development focused on short-term rentals and shared spaces. So again, optimizing things like communal living spaces and making bedrooms smaller and than you would in a normal house. I think that that's been a really fascinating trend to watch. The other one I'm really enjoying is we have so many members who come to us from places like the Poconos or the Myrtle Beaches or places that have been historic vacation rental destinations that are now wanting to just do full refreshes and talking about what's working, what's not, what amenities to focus on, what design aspects will lead to higher returns. So we do a lot of work in the design space to kind of see, what will get higher bookings, what types of things would change, this property to change the return on it. So I think that the things that have been exciting to me have been again the experiential side, the people who are building with short-term rentals in mind from ground up construction, which I think is just super interesting to see what choices they're making, and then a lot of the refreshes in these kind of historic traditional vacation rental markets that have been fascinating.
It's really interesting. I grew up in the Myrtle Beach market, right in that area, right over the line. So I spent a lot of time in Myrtle Beach, and that whole area on the coast up to, well, all the way up to Virginia and up further. All that coastline is traditional. And watching the amenities, I would think they would change. The things that I've seen change, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but the things that I have seen change in these areas, the amenities don't really change as far as people want to pull in a hot tub and an elevator, and they want at least 4 bedrooms. Okay, they want 5-bedroom or 6-bedroom minimum. But the things that I've seen changed is they want concierge service. They want they want high-end sheets. They
Yeah,
do. They want amenities like in the kitchen. They want a gourmet kitchen. And they really want a gourmet kitchen this time, not like 5 years ago when we thought a gourmet kitchen was, stocking it with, really cool pieces of, it has a mortar and pestle, or whatever.
sure.
They want real gourmet. They want the hoods. They want wolf stoves, or they want high-end appliances. And I think that people may have always wanted that kind of thing, but they didn't demand it anymore. Now, if you want to calculate when you go to invest in a property, how much you're going to make, you really have to take those kinds of things into account. because you may have to do a refresh, and a refresh is a couple $100,000 depending on how big that house is, right?
100%. I mean, if you're doing a 5-bedroom house and you're going really, really luxury, yeah, absolutely. And to your point, we've seen linen programs have total overhauls. We've had huge companies come to us in those areas and say, we're totally turning over our linen program and we want to start over fresh again with like standards. That's something we've seen a lot. The one that you didn't mention is like the soaps and shampoos and hand washes. Like they want to see brands and they want to know what it is. And so we partner with, on the lower end of the cost spectrum, the public goods of the world, right? And on the higher end, the Grown Alchemist, the Malin and Getz, the Le Labos, you name it. We're in that world, getting access to those things for businesses at not retail prices, of course, right? But we get you kind of the access. So I've seen soaps and shampoos be a big one. To your point, kitchens. People want stainless steel kitchenware. They want to make sure that there's again, the plates, the cups, like when they're out on the table for the photo shoots, if you're putting them out, right, they're going to want to see that it's not, kind of your generic, your home goods. They want to see like it's the quality of it. So that's been a big one. And then one of our big partners this year has been GE. So we partner with GE and we're doing a ton of appliance work. A lot of people upgrading stainless steel appliances.
They've got pretty ones too.
And they got great stuff. And again, like the discounts are meaningful enough that now when you're penciling it out, it makes sense. So that's a big one we've seen too. You're right. And so whether that's, if you're doing a luxury product, we've seen a ton of success, people coming in. So again, we partner with Restoration Hardware and we have like a free interior design program.
So
Their
pretty.
stuff is great. Their stuff is great.
Gorgeous.
Now, I can't tell you what the HostGPO discount is because I'm not allowed to say it publicly, but very meaningful. And so all of a sudden you're doing a whole house and you're in a luxury market like that. And we have a free interior design service with them where they'll come in, they'll do your whole house top to bottom. Same thing for like, we work with Pottery Barn or Crate and Barrel. They'll come in and do your design and deliver it all, do the installation and so forth. And all of a sudden you're batting in another echelon, you're batting in another tier. And sometimes that, if you don't need to do that every 2 years, but for a lot of these historic markets that are in that like, 7th year, 8th year furniture, and there's the opportunity of being the market leader in that space, being top 5% of bookings, that is a huge, huge trend.
I will tell you something that blew my husband's mind when we began to furnish our first rental house. I knew the amenities. I knew what kind of house to buy. But when it came to furnishings, I went to my sister and I said, what do you do? And she said, I go to market and I buy. Well, she had her sister-in-law was a designer. And so she had furniture, the same furniture in her high-end home for like 13 years. And it looked perfect. It was, and it didn't get squished. It didn't die. It was high-end furniture. I think it was Henry Don, the first set that she put in there way back. And she just replaced everything recently. And she's like, I got 20 years use out of this. And I was like, I cannot believe that. And I mean, you tell people that have vacation rentals, they got 20 years out of that. If you have a vacation rental manager that really takes care of their homeowners, takes care of their guests, has a good vetting process, that can last. And my husband was like, you want to spend how much on what? And I said, yeah, but it's going to last us 5 years.
This is the real difference. And what I think is amazing is, and this requires a lot of education on our parts, because what we're trying to do is educate the homeowners. This is worth the expense. This is going to last you a long time, and it's going to look better in the property. It'll probably book for more because, again, you have higher quality, better design.
100%.
You're going to get more revenue. It's going to last for longer. But then on the same time, we're trying to educate the property managers to say, this is what you want inside. First of all, you're charging a percentage. So the more booking and the more that's obviously what you're looking for. But second of all, you're going to lower the amount of times that you have to, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, replace. I mean, I can't tell you how many times people are purchasing inexpensive quality, coffee tables that are laminate, that are cork board, that are, and they look great in the photos. And I get it. We're in the photography business. But the problem is that the corner of that coffee table is going to peel up in 3 guests when somebody spills a glass of water on it, or just, just from your cleaners just wiping it down over and over again. And now all of a sudden somebody checks in, and the accuracy rating that you're going to get is going to be low, and the quality and overall stay is going to be low, and you're going to have issues where you have to replace that coffee table. And what an operational headache that is. The better thing to do is to convince the owner, hey, we have a HostGPO membership. We have the access to give you these types of quality products at a discount. This is a benefit of being managed by us as a professional property manager. And for the property manager, it's a win-win for everybody all around. And so this has been our big crusade, is how do we help property managers, homeowners, the industry overall elevate, and, and really try to educate people in this community about what we have.
My ADR went up $500 a night after I redecorated.
That is a amazing stat.
It is, but then again, I had like I said, I had a devastating, the whole bottom floor had to be replaced. So when I said $200,000, I don't think you could do a 5-bedroom for $200,000. Not really. You could, but I think it would be a little more than that. I think it depends what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean,
we had to replace flooring and everything. So
yeah, that stuff gets expensive too. But I will say, we've seen people do 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom homes for, on the more inexpensive side, just the furnishing and linens and all that kind of stuff, for, I don't know, 60 grand. Like you can do it. You can do it.
I love that. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, an average HostGPO member, I think, saves almost 40% on retail prices. So it's like 39 something percent last time we ran the number. So
I have a friend that just bought a beach box, and it's a little 4-bedroom, and I'm going to have to tell them, you need to talk to your property manager.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they have to refurnish the whole thing now.
This is what we're here to do. And we've got all the things, we give away all the resources and checklists and all that kind of stuff. So, it's fun. I love this industry. And my favorite thing is watching people do units from the ground up. It's like the most fun to watch the before and afters.
For sure. I like that too. I hate doing it though. I absolutely hate remodeling. I've done it twice in my life, and I'm like, never again. I want to buy my next house furnished and everything. So tell me this. I want your favorite guest story or owner story.
Oh man, favorite guest story. I mean, I had Brian Chesky stay at my house, which was cool. That was a fun one. One of my properties. I had back in the day, I had one of my homes was the first Airbnb Plus and first Airbnb Luxe home in Los Angeles in the first batch. And
Wow.
that was a super fun guest story. So and just meaningful, like was, operating, and that was it was just an unexpected surprise. So that was cool. And then best owner story, man, I really have to think about that one. I worked with slightly different market, but out in Los Angeles, worked with a bunch of celebrities. And that was cool to manage. I met a couple of really cool celebrities whose homes I got to manage when they weren't here. That was always fun.
That's what you get for being in LA.
I know. And we used to rent to Netflix, and we had a couple movies filmed in one of our properties, which was fun. And that whole world is a very interesting world too.
How are things there for you as far as location and fire? How are things going?
Thankfully, thanks for asking. Thankfully, my family's doing okay. But certainly have a ton of friends. I mean, I probably know 40, 50 people who, through my just growing up out here, this is my hometown. So who lost their homes, and it's just been really devastating. But it's been amazing to see how quickly and how meaningfully the city mobilized to just be there and help everybody. And so, I mean, the donation centers were overflowing out here. There were more people helping than could physically be there. So they were like turning volunteers away. So that was really nice to see. And then even the short-term rental community out here mobilized very quickly. And so we worked with a ton of local operators. Shout out to near my mom and a lot of the other people that we've been working with to just go from, we help furnish another 50 property really quickly, or we started working with multifamily developers and real estate developers out here that weren't doing furnished. And we said, hey, look, we can help you furnish these very, very quickly. Gave them a bunch of people from our team and just tried to, we even had some of our vendors reach out and offer free, things just to help move things along. So, that was a really cool thing to see and just amazing to watch the city respond to. I mean, the city of Beverly Hills, for example, they relaxed the short-term rental laws to allow for more furnished rentals during this period, to allow for, bypassing the permitting rules and so forth, just because there were so many displaced families that needed homes. And so that was a really, really amazing thing to see happen.
I love that. Well, is there anything we can do that you know of?
I mean, I think as of right now, we're doing all right. We started putting together a list of rental properties and folks who are willing to give discounts and so forth to displace people. Thankfully, a lot of the evacuations have been rolled back at this point, so people are going back into their homes. But that was a really critical time. So a lot of vacation rental operators reaching out and giving additional discounts. There's all these price gouging rules out here in Los Angeles. And California in general. So you're not allowed to increase pricing over 10% in the face of a disaster like this. So that was really interesting to see too, how that played out. Airbnb and a lot of the other platforms kind of came in, and Vrbo did the same thing and limited pricing, and which I think messed with everybody's dynamic pricing in general, but overall was a good thing for the industry. And then man, we put out just terrible stories. It's a lot of bad actors putting up fake listings, scamming people into, booking fake vacation rental stays in these moments. And so we put out a guide to, what to check for to make sure you're not booking a scam vacation rental property. And so that was distributed pretty widely, and I'm happy to see, hopefully that helps some people. So it's pretty crazy. I can't think of anything right now, but it's thankfully I think we're past the worst of the immediacy, and now it's just kind of in the rebuilding phase.
I had a friend who was renting there, and she had just finished furnishing her whole house the week before the fire. And her hardest thing, she had given her mother one of her favorite prints and another piece of decorative marble of some sort. So she saved that, but nothing else. But she was safe, which was, praise God, But her hardest thing was finding a rental. She said to me, she said, I think I've got a rental. I think I got one this week, but I'm not sure until, I'm supposed to go sign tonight. So we'll see. But it's really hard to get rentals there right now. So,
yeah, I mean, there's just not enough inventory for how many people are out here. And so, hopefully the city continues to relax short-term rental regulations during this period, but there's just not enough. The demand is crazy. I mean, you go to a furnished house rental, for a year, not even in the short-term market, but just for a year, it's like a revolving door. There's just people walking in and out, and they'll close it down during the middle because somebody comes in and just offers what like it's a free-for-all. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But we've been doing whatever we can to help people furnish properties out here as quickly as possible, and whether that's helping to guide them towards, hey, all of this furniture and all this stuff can arrive within a week and or 2 weeks and get set up, and prevent people from ordering custom made items that are going to ship from overseas that are going to take 6 months, and that kind of stuff. And just trying to create more housing out here. But hopefully not that long of a road to rebuild. This is LA is a great city, and this is just a tremendously awful thing that happened. But there's been some bright spots amongst all the horrors. So we'll see how long it takes for the city to get its act together and hopefully start letting people rebuild.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope that permitting process goes really quickly. We're all hoping.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about cutting the red tape, but we'll see what ends up actually happening. I mean, it's notorious in LA, especially. I mean, that was a huge part of my business before, but these permits can take, generally speaking, 18 months.
18 months. That's what I saw. And it could take 18 months to get a permit to even clean off the mess out of your lot.
It's crazy. I mean, Lynell, this is what I built. This is like, not to do whole tangent. This is what I built my original vacation rental company on. Was I was going to real estate developers in Los Angeles who were buying homes, and they were going to flip them and develop them. And so
Mhm.
what they would end up doing is buying these homes, and they would have to wait 18 months to get a permit, but they didn't want to rent it to, if they couldn't find a family or somebody who they wanted to rent it to for 18 months that would move in, furnish the home, and leave. And these weren't property managers. These are real estate developers. So
Yeah.
my business in, the 2014, 15, 16 era was going to real estate developers and managing or releasing these properties during the periods of the permitting, and then moving out when it was time to do construction.
Wow.
So like the periods of these renovations are notorious in Los Angeles, and so very hopeful that they really do clear the red tape for people to rebuild fast.
I've seen some things that are positive. I hope they go through. Listen,
Yeah.
Jeff, thank you so much. If people want to get in touch with you and talk to you about what we've talked about today or anything else, how would they reach you?
Yeah. So feel free to shoot me an email, jeff@hostgpo.com, or just check us out at HostGPO or HostGPO on all things. And or feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn these days, and find it to be a really good space for the short-term rental community. So yeah.
Well, I'm really
Reach out.
grateful for you taking the time to give people advice. I think we've gotten some really cool, important advice today. So I really thank you for coming to share.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciated the time.
This episode of How We Grow is brought to you by Streamline. To find out more about how Streamline can help grow your vacation rental business, visit streamlinevrs.com. Make sure to search for How We Grow in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. On behalf of the team here at Inhabit, thanks for listening.